Well, good evening, race fans, and a very warm welcome to round 5 of the International Racing League Season 3. My name is Webbo, as you can probably gather, and we are here at the Belgian Grand Prix location of Spa for the next round in our fantastic championship. Let me just give you the points positions at the moment. Well, on the top of the standings at the moment, I'm just struggling to read the new standings set up in this situation. I'll get there in a second. Sorry. Okay, so Merckx is on top of the championship right now with 84 points to Ricky Marou's 62. Ricky having been missing in the previous round and I think missing tonight as well. ARL or AJ is on 48 points in third position, just 4 ahead of Moulin, whose home race it is today, and we're all fingers crossed for a Belgian good score here. Good to see you, Floydie, as well. I had some trouble getting the stream ready, but I had a whole preview audio to play today, and it didn't work. Moist, our double world champion, is in 5th position at the moment on 38 points, 8 points ahead of Speedy Spud. And next comes 2 points further back on 28 Ole, with a joint next position of 13 points for Banana or PRS and Sticky. Leon has 12. We have 3 drivers on 10 points in Tronzik, Floyd Pink and Jay, with then Marco, Nike, Chuck Norris, Psycho Lemmy and Techno Tim all having scored so far this season. We can't wait to get on with the race proceedings as usual, of course, but I shall just have a look shortly at the tyre and track selections, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Constructors' Championship as things stand after Silverstone and post-race penalties and everything like that. I do not have... I should have checked all this before. I could see a new message in Constructors' Championships. I left it on unread so that I knew that it was available to me, only to find that the unread message in that channel was, you can't have Constructors' Championships until the next round. So I'm afraid no Constructors for you right now. AJ's saying it's going to be tough here without Ricky, but he's got to make the most of it for the VCarb team. I wonder whether he is actually out on track first, as he always is. Here he is, ARL, just heading through Eau Rouge and over the top of Radion. Fantastic to see this historic racetrack, and you never get bored of Spa, do you? I mean, that would just be crazy. So looking forward from the Grand Prix, because I know not everybody has the ability to watch it live, so we won't be discussing the Grand Prix. We'll be talking about our Belgian Grand Prix here, and we're into Q1. Of course, only one qualifying session at International Racing League, unless we surprise the commentator with 2 one-shot qualifying sessions in a sprint race, as we did in Silverstone. But we shall get on with this. We'll then have 18 minutes, of which a minute and a half have already passed before we get underway. I've heard a few comments from some of the drivers today. We have Waitsy, an old friend of mine, who is here tonight to join the league because he was tuning in last week and liked what he saw. Quality of driving was fantastic last week, so certainly a great advert for the league, especially during this summer period where lots of drivers are off on vacation. It's great to have some people come in. Well, Waitsy is saying he's struggling with the handling model, so be prepared to laugh today at his performance. I know I get a whole litany of racing driver excuses as we get underway, and I'll talk about some more drivers again soon. But hello to Jessica as well. Great to see Jessica, and I know AJ is pleased to see Waitsy as well. On board then, how is AJ typing while he's driving? Anyway, he did that man down the back straight. Into La Source then, we go a 250-metre run from pole position down to La Source. And then, of course, you've got the main competition for places. If you've survived La Source, you've got to get through single file through Eau Rouge here, over the top of the crest of Radion. A little bit lower down in the seats here, you actually end up looking directly at the sky, but the camera angle that we're watching from is a little bit different, although many drivers will be using this one. Long Kemmel straight down into the braking zone, into Les Combes, which is a quick right left. It's a little bit oversteery for AJ there. We're going to cut away, and as we go into Malmedy, And we see the recovering car in front. We're joined Moist on board, who's going to carry on then through Rivage or Bruxelles. Depends on who you, which corner name you go for. And likewise, this one, which I like to refer to as it was once referred to as the Jackie X corner, sometimes no name. Into Pouon. Try not to touch that inside curb, as Moist was certainly being a little bit cavalier through there. And then we go down into Le Fagna, which I think is far too long and laborious a chicane to be called a piff-paff, as we then run out and into the first part of Stavolo. I know it had a temporary name through the second part of Stavolo, or it might be the first part of Stavolo, but I'm always going to call it the double right-hander of Stavolo. We have the powering traction zone and the way out of Stavolo before a full throttle in anything but the most extreme wet conditions through Blanchimont. Now you can run side by side, but you've got to wait until your braking zone that ends up slightly uphill into the bus stop to finish out the lap. Try not to be too greedy on the throttle on the way out, and Moist will set the first flying lap on a 1:42.909. We know that ARL won't set a time this time round. Let's join someone who's a little bit further around the track maybe. I know we've got one of the light blue cars on the list. Is that an Alpine? We've got Davy Norris in the Alpine then running through. I can see a couple of new names, certainly Frontline as well as Waitsy here. And then we've got Merckx, who has taken 3 of the 4 Grand Prix wins and a sprint win, the only sprint race win so far of the season. And he is certainly the man to beat at the moment. Now on top of the championship standings. Is that going to change things for Merckx a little bit tonight? He said Silverstone went really well and he was happy, but tonight is going to be difficult. Not one of his favourite tracks, but hopefully he'll get some good battles and be able to get it on the podium. I think he's being very modest there. I think he's very likely to be in the hunt for the W tonight, as he has been in all of the races he's contested so far. Here comes Speedy Spud then in the Haas, finished in 4th position, a slightly surprised 4th position last time out, and he's about to start his flying lap right now. I know Davy Norris is on a lap, so let's join him, shall we, in the standard Alpine livery, which is slightly disappointing looking now, because it is mostly carbon fibre. So we'll wait and see if they actually issue the special livery out, as many of them have done. Many of the teams have done through the course of the season. It'd be nice if they'd had it in the game ready for the race today. You can see Spa becoming quite a different challenge for our drivers now with the new handling model. Almost a second is the gap between first and second, and that's Merckx in second as well, a 1:43.900, a 1:42.909 for Moist. Incredible stuff. ARL was out on his medium tyres and set a 1:44.7 on the slowest lap so far, but like I say, on the medium tyres, quite normal for him to do that and save a set of softs for the race potentially. Davy Norris sets a 1:45.203, and we have Speedy Spud now definitely on a lap, but unfortunately that lap has now in fact invalidated. Sticky is heading into Pouon here. Our car will always get loose, and you can see him winding in and then out of the steering wheel through Pouon. It's a bit of a correction happening for him. Very, very tricky to manage the car on this new handling model that likes to turn in, but the rear end doesn't always do exactly what the front end seems to promise. And then we've got Sticky then powering out of Stavolo, the long run now. And the other drivers I've heard from so far were AJ himself, who says he thinks his pace is improving throughout the season, and he's hoping that the qualifying will go well today and he can start nearer the sharper end of the grid. So he's feeling better and better, and he's just waiting for the results to follow. Here comes Sticky then to the line. Now that's a 4th place for the McLaren, a 1:44.163. Tiny margin. Just slower than Leon, who's in 3rd place for the Haas team. Remember, for the V-Carbs, who were leading the championship earlier on, I don't know the championship standings as things are right now, but I do know that they're having to race without Ricky right now and without scoring points. So hopefully we will see that come through as Speedy Spud is on his fast lap. I've got Merckx apparently on a fast lap. I wonder if he did a charge lap, given that it was a second slower than our top time of Moist so far. We've got Ole who is saying he's feeling good, especially on his quali pace at the moment. He's lacking a bit of knowledge, though, on race strategy, it seems, right now. So could be promising signs for McLaren, certainly for qualifying here. He says his plan is to try and stay with Merck today and if he can, but Spa, anything can happen. So very wise words from Ole, keeping his expectations in check for sure. Then we've got AJ saying it could be a tough race to take in tonight. Here is Speedy Spud then coming through the bus stop and powering out. Where is this going to put the Haas? Anywhere near his teammate? It certainly is. Up to third position for Speedy Spud. And meanwhile, Milan, our home driver today, our Belgian driver, has managed to go into third. It was second. Merck, though, has just pumped in a time that is ferociously close to Moist. 7 thousandths of a second only for Merck there up in the Kick Sauber. And he has put in a fantastic time, much better time than his first laps seem to indicate. Let's have a look at Ollie then, because we were just talking about Ollie. And I'll just say that Milan's saying he's feeling pretty good tonight about his home race. He's only about an hour and a half away from the track, is where he's from originally. So he's looking forward to this. And I know drivers tend to feel especially good when it's their home race. It tends to give that little bit of extra motivation, a little bit of extra time spent in the practice, perhaps. Moist also not feeling particularly fast pre-race. He said he was feeling pretty slow. Now, obviously, he's extremely slow, 7 thousandths of a second away from pole position right now, and I did kind of suggest that maybe he wasn't quite accurate in his summation prior to our race tonight. But yeah, you can't argue with the way a driver's feeling, and he said he was feeling pretty slow. We will keep a close eye through the bus stop then. No drama from Ole. He's got a car in front of him. Might just help him a little bit with an extra click or two down this short straight. And he goes into third place then. Ole on a 43.0. Very close at the top three. You could certainly cover that very, very quickly with a fairly small tarpaulin as they cross the line, even though it's a long old lap. Frontline is out on track at the moment. We haven't seen Frontline, and we barely ever see a Mercedes here at the moment, so it's good to see. I don't know anything about Frontline, so other than, unfortunately, it is a brand of flea treatment here in the UK. So I do apologise. That's a completely random thing to say, but it's my knowledge. It's just my word association. Out of Malmedy we go and into Bruxelles Rivage corner. Trying to get hooked up into sort of the middle lane round there, especially in the wet. That tends to be good to stay away from the apex. Through Jackie X, which is a blink and you miss it, quick left-hander, and then you're trying to maximise your approach into Pouhon. Now, they've changed the line into Pouhon because you can no longer run two wheels out on the tarmac because they've filled it in with grass. Into the Fania, next up then for Frontline, and running through those two corners quite smoothly. Into Stavlo next, and we'll wait for an update on his time. I didn't get a time update there. Got Moist out on an outlap right now. I'll tune in and check out what Moist is doing in any moment, because that's going to be very important for our race. Running off track at the moment goes one of the rivals. I couldn't quite see. Maybe that was a McLaren. Difficult for me to check out. GTK saying. Been very ill. I think that means last few weeks. I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope that you improve soon, GTK, and we have you back. But footy and doctor's appointments, yeah, you have my sympathy. But yeah, get back soon and get back onto the racetrack where you belong. As Moist has invalidated, it's only the outlap. Don't need to worry about this one. Floydie saying Frontline is an old friend from the USA. Raced in season 1 and in a previous league. Fantastic. Okay, so he'll know nothing about the veterinary treatment that I was mentioning. If he's over in the US, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Moist is warming up his tyres and getting ready then on the down into the bus stop and trying to get through that chicane. It's incredibly slow. Wide entry for the second part of the bus stop to maximise that short run down to La Source. I'm waiting then to stamp on the brakes. If you don't believe me about the flea lotion, just type in Frontline lovely treatment into Google. I've got to stop doing it. Right. Through Eau Rouge and up over Radion we go. That was a ferociously frightening snap that I saw Lance Stroll have in practice over the weekend over the hill. Could have been a very different story over there. Waiting then to brake very late, 70 metres or later, down into Les Combes, I should say up into Les Combes, before we go into the very understeery Malmedy corner. Repeating flag marker on the eye line there on the approach into the corner. I think it was a yellow flag for a moment. You don't tend to worry about that in qualifying too much. Nobody causing any problems. Usually yellow flags just triggered by people being off circuit. P1 is nice and smooth for Moist. It's looking smooth, if not too dramatic. It'll be a matter of what the drivers prefer when it comes to race pace in terms of their setup here today. Will they low trim for max speed, or will they want to treat their tyres well? Well, Moist is nearly 0.2 of a second better than he's been before, and that will clearly put him on pole if he can hold it together in the final sector. We really hope that that we get Moist back on top and we have a really good run into the championship. He showed very well in the sprint race in Silverstone against Merck. Once Merck, though, had a pit stop in the feature race, kind of disappeared a little bit and left Moist to battle with Milan. As now Moist comes through to finish the lap, and it is slightly slower, so that final sector just didn't quite work for Moist. We've got Milan on a lap at the moment, but it's invalid, so we'll wait. Has Milan managed to save any ERS? I think he may have done. I think it's probably good to have a quick check. Oh yes, he's got 98%, so we should be able to go again. So at least that invalidation happened early in the lap. Merckx playing it cool with 2 minutes 50 to go. It's possible Merckx has decided that he can't go any quicker than that. 3 laps deep into a soft tyre strategy. He will only go once more if he goes at all, but it is a long lap and you can get caught out by traffic into that third sector on your final lap. So it's important to get the laps in. Here comes Ole then to attack the lap for the next time, and he's looking to get into the 1 minute 42s if he can. That was a smooth early apex for La Source. Avoid the nasty gully bump on the way out as we power through. Hug the Qatar Airways sponsorship on the inside edge of the pit wall to get the best and most straight run through Eau Rouge and Radion. We'll approach the first timing sector as we hit the brakes for Les Combes, and that's quicker. Oh, huge turn in, and the rear end really just having to play catch up there into Les Combes, and then it's just over the edge of the track limits for Ole in that lap. Unfortunately for him, it's not happening. We have got our pole sitter out to try and run again. We've got Milan having invalidated this lap, and has Moist managed to start his next lap just yet? No, he's heading into the pits and will not get round. Moist will go no faster than a 42.909 here. Milan and Ole, both Diecta drivers, but we have to refer to them, of course, by their first names because, or their chosen names, because it's very difficult to distinguish. ARL is in 5th place as Milan runs wide here just to allow, I think, a Haas to scream on through. We've got Leon on an outlap. We've got PRS, Marco, all on fast laps at the moment. Waitsy was very, very low expectations here, and he's 9th right now, 43.8. But it's the lead drivers at the moment out on track. Where is Merckx? He's just going through La Source right now. So we'll stay with Merckx until the first timing sector, and then we'll switch back, I think, to Ole and Milan and see how they get through. Looks like Merckx has got some gold on the helmet now, ready for leading this championship. Early days though, it is a 16-round championship that we have, braking heavily, and he's up on his previous time. Ole has retired from the session, so what about Milan then? An open door for Milan to get himself up onto the front row, the grid potentially. It's up as well. So both of the 2 drivers left in this qualifying in the top 5 are on an opportunity right now on their hot laps. Here comes Merck through Pouon. That looks slightly wide of the apex, but maybe he's carried the speed through. Heading down towards Le Fagna. And again, not quite hitting the apex on the entry into Le Fagna, but he allowed him into the apex a little bit neater into the second part. Seems to be struggling for turning, but he's hugely up in the middle sector. 0.4 of a second for Merckx. As we'll just join. Marco's gone into fourth place. What a lap from Marco up to put the Aston Martin right up there. Brilliant stuff from Marco. Milan then through, and he's 1/4 of a second up in the second sector, but no one has a match for the pace of Merckx tonight. Here he comes out of the final corner, just threading the needle, straddling the curbs, and he goes even faster. A 444 improvement for Merckx to 142.457. Now, Milan was deposed down to fifth due to Marco's ascendancy, but has Milan timed this well enough to get up in the order? He gets fourth position. He did improve by 0.2 of a second, but it wasn't enough. Some of the checkered flags are coming in. ARL is not one of them yet. He's still on the lap. Coming into Stavolo for the second sector update. A lot of tyre smoke to follow. He's 1.5 of a second up. It's not quite going to be enough to depose Marco at this stage, and he's backed off. He's backed off the lap. What about Leon? Is Leon still pushing? Well, he's slightly over it through the second sector, but there's a chance for Leon potentially into the bus stop. Can he improve here? He needs about 0.5 to make an improvement. Has he stolen it? He absolutely has. Up to sixth place for Leon. That pushes ARL, who's still on the track, but down in seventh, and I think headed into the pit lane. So it looks like we've got our grid. It's going to be Merckx. It's going to be Moist on the front row, just as it was in Silverstone. And behind them, the Diecta friends of Ole and Milan. Behind them, Marco and Leon, with ARL and Waitsy, PRS and Speedy Spud making out the top 10. Really good competitive qualifying session there, right up until Merckx went in for his final lap, and then it was all over. Leon wants to race or something, says AJ. Yeah, I dare say the vast majority of guys that have shown up tonight are here to race for sure, AJ. So they're definitely up for it. But Merckx is taking in a victory lap here. I think he's possibly gone on to AI, but there he is, ready to take on the race, and look forward to it. I will give you an update, of course, as usual, on any delay we might have between the sessions. But Merckx is our pole sitter here on a 142.457, leading the championship, leading us into the Belgian Grand Prix away from the start. There'll be Moist alongside him with Ole and Milan, Marco and Leon. Then comes ARL and Waitsy, as I mentioned before, PRS and Speedy Spud. Then in 11th place, we have Sticky and Floyd Pink. Frontline in 13th. Chuck Norris in 14th. And then Davey Norris. The Norrises are both at the back of the grid, Red Bull and Alpine, with Chuck ahead of Davey. So, folks, we are going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back at 1/2 the hour, or if I have edited this, it should start fairly immediately. And what I'm going to do is just play you some highlights from the season so far, and hopefully they will come through, at least on my mic here, and you should be able to just enjoy some of the highlights of the season so far. Here we go. It's time to go racing. No formation lap for us. Moist on top, with Ricky Maru down the inside. Both drivers away nice and quickly from the start. This looks like a good start for both of them, and the row behind as well, as the drivers just taking it fairly steadily into the corner. Ricky Maru screams into the lead, but that's perhaps not the best place to be. ARL as well, and they came together. And Moist losing the front wing, retiring from the race. Here, though, is the move for the Williams. Milan on PRS, down the inside. Early bragging rights for teammates here to declare who is the faster driver in the team, and therefore who gets the preferential treatment in any kind of racing decisions. They made the move. Into the pits comes the damaged Haas. Couldn't make it run. Leon is about to retire, I'm certain. We're about to go 3 wide down into turn 1. Surely we can't all make it through. Alpha Alex into second place. And that was as a direct result of the Williams drivers tripping over each other. And 3-second penalties for both Williams drivers. That is heartbreaking for James Fowles. Ricky Maru is disappearing. This is a tremendous performance from Ricky. Still, ARL having to defend the inside line. Was he about to get tagged by Ollie? I think he did get tagged by Ollie. That looked like a piece of diffuser coming off the back of the V-carb. I don't want to cut away from this battle, and it's going to be a drag to the line, but Ricky Maru comes out of the final corner. Absolute dominant pace from Ricky Maru tonight in the V-carb. Takes the first win of the Season 3 Championship here in Bahrain. And behind him, Alpha Alex is going to take the drag to the line all the way to the finish, and ARL will secure third position after all. Ollie in fourth. Intrinsic, I can't believe he's in fifth after his restart lap. Merckx now pulling right across to the inside, and I think Merckx declined the use of his DRS on that trip down the start-finish line. Really, really interesting, but Ricky has picked up a 3-second penalty. Absolutely heartbreaking. The final corner looms for Merckx. He debuts with us here at International Racing League and wins the Spanish Grand Prix by just 3.6 seconds in the end from Ricky Maru, who took him to the penultimate lap and pushed him incredibly hard. Double champion Maestro Moist finishes the race and rescues good points for the eventual championship that is almost certain to come to him towards the end as into third place. Ricky Maru has the DRS. He's waiting to pounce. He doesn't want to give up the opportunity too early. He's thinking tactically. I know he had a lot of regrets from the round in Spain after the race. He was happy with the pace, but he felt tactically he could have done a little bit better. As we head into the final lap of the race, surely now Ricky is going to have to go for it. We're going to have a drag finish out of the final corner, I feel, as Ricky late on the brakes, locking up slightly. Was that a little wiggle from the front wing? It is one win apiece for Ricky and Merckx in the first two rounds of the championship. Ollie cannot feature on the win unless the two drivers in front of him pick up penalties themselves. ARL is desperately trying to catch within 3 seconds of Ollie, but it doesn't look like he's going to get there. Merckx has got the rear red light flashing. Here goes Ricky for the lead of the race on the final lap, but is it too early? We will see as Ricky using the ERS, he's now got the red light flashing. I think he's got it if he can hold the inside line down the outside. Runs the kick Sauber. It's Ricky versus Merckx to the line. Merckx just getting the overlap, but who will get it to the end? It is going to be Merckx just from Ricky Maru. Ollie with a +3 penalty, but that could not have been much closer. But coming out of the final corner, club corner, it's Merckx to win the sprint. It's Moist following incredibly closely, but Merckx, the merciless, takes another race win here. But Merckx wins race 3, his third race and race 4 of the championship. 3 from 4 for Merckx. Absolutely peerless. I guess 4 from 5 if you count the sprint. Wow, as Moist goes 2 wheels in the air to finish out this race. He'll cross the line, but Milan will take second and Moist third. What's happening between Speedy Spud and ARL? Has ARL under fueled perhaps, or has he gone off the circuit? It looked like ARL was going to have fourth absolutely nailed on, but Speedy Spud has caught him in the end. Here comes the Haas driver to cross the line ahead of ARL. Okay, folks, it's time to get your snacks together. It's time to get ready for the race. I've been given the green light from Spud, so we should be on track. And everyone wishing good luck to each other, at least until the first contact anyway. Down the run to La Source, it's going to be Merckx versus Moist once again. And I can't wait, now that Moist has got this resurgence in the championship, to see Ricky Maru come back as well and make this a real challenge. Well, here they go then. 5 lights for the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's drop the clutch and go, and loads of tyre smoke as they firstly jump away from the start. Moist has screamed into the lead, fantastically as Merckx is very much on the defensive on the slightly dirtier side of the track. Side by side run the DXer friends of Milan and Ollie, but Milan just with the nose ahead. PRS moving down in the order as they then try to negotiate who gets Bragg and Rice, who gets the lead going through Eau Rouge and Radion, but already it's Ollie who's managing to slipstream and get the better run all the way through, and Ollie up into third position, but Moist is disappearing. There's a huge piece of debris missing from one of the cars there. Someone's lost something. I can't quite see. It looked like it might place because Leon has jumped straight up into fourth position. I can't see anybody with a missing part of the front wing at the moment. ARL down to 8th. Waitsy though up to 6th for the Scuderia Ferrari already. We'll see if the strategy pays out later on, but at the moment it is Moist, Merck, Ole, Leon, Milan, Waitsy, Marco and ARL, your top 8 as we look at the tyre strategies in a moment. Let's just that will make a lot of sense if we can get that information. It's medium tyres for everybody, but kind of to explain perhaps the jump from Waitsy that has been actioned. It's Waitsy up into 6th place on the soft tyres. Likewise, Chuck Norris up from the back, from near the back into 11th. Davey Norris also on softs. It's almost like they have coordinated this one across teammates, but certainly at the moment it's medium tyres for the top 5. Then comes Waitsy, and it's side by side once again. Milan trying to go the long way around the bus stop from the Haas driver, and it causes a bit of a concertina into the sequence. Is Merckx about to go for it into La Source? Not quite. He's quite happy to follow the next driver all the way up into Eau Rouge and Bradion. Now Waitsy, I think someone, possibly Waitsy, has got a small amount of the front wing damaged coming through that bus stop chicane because of Milan just running. Here though, joining on board with Merckx, coming through on the kick Sauber as we study the back of the rear wing, and the advantage with the DRS seems to be pretty strong. Merckx into the lead down into Lake Com, and a little kick of the of tyre smoke on the way in just belies the fact that he was slightly offline. Straddles the curb, ungrips the car. It looks like possibly Moist trying to go the inside line into Bruxelles Rivage corner. But Merck just hanging on. PRS has picked up a penalty already. It's lap 2 of 22. We've already had a plenty of action here. Ollie into third position, as he was all the way earlier in the season, but didn't quite, I think that was Jeddah, didn't quite manage to stay with them without penalties. But Leon now with a penalty as well. It's going to complicate matters somewhat further down into the racing laps later on. It looks like Merck, though, getting a little bit leery coming out of some of these corners. The back of the car kicking out. He's obviously pushing hard, and I'm not deliberately using the word kick over and over to describe what's happening. It's just accidental. A little gap then, 2 seconds between the top 3 and Milan, and the run of Milan, Leon, Waitsy and ARL as the top 3 come into the bus stop. Nobody heading into an overtake position here. Close-up cameras not really helping into the bus stop to see if anyone is challenging. But we've certainly got some action further back in the grid. Some side-by-side action here between the Williams of Marco and the Williams of PRS against Marco in the Aston Martin. PRS just getting the nod ahead, but that might give up a slipstream on the way through the next run, the next sector of the racetrack. Here then is Ollie on board, third position, waiting for the DRS to be enabled. Looks like Moist has got it, and look at the overspeed for Moist in the Aston Martin, just reversing the order of exactly what happened between himself and Merck, but slightly late on the brakes, and Merck was earlier on the brakes, got slow in, fast out, the classic Jackie Stewart line of cornering, and retook that position beautifully. I thought we might be on for a constant battle between first and second, as we saw in Spain. Different drivers, Merckx and Ricky Maru, but that time, now it's Moist back. Our double champion, the Maestro, is back right at the top and the sharp end of our grid. The rest of the field, though, some near 2 seconds behind, but then the gap's incredibly close. Back to Frontline, who has obviously had a challenging first couple of laps, and we'll take in the positions change so far. on the grid. Up 2 is Leon with a penalty though. Milan down 1 as a result. Waitsy up 2 though on the soft tyres, which won't last long here in Spa. ARL's back to where he started. We've got Marco down 4 positions and up 3 each. Chuck Norris and Davey Norris both on the soft tyres. It's definitely helped those soft tyre runners to move forward. Penalties on PRS and on Leon at the moment, but those soft tyres will be good for a lap or 2 more, but then are going to prove very, very difficult to hang on to. As we run down into La Source, we've got Milan, Waitsy, ARL coming through. ARL's in a great position here on the hard tyres, very flexible, strategic tyre for ARL. We'll see if that bears any fruit for him later on, but he has got Speedy Spud caught right up behind him, and I think we might be about to see another run here from Moist. He's had one sighter opportunity into Les Combes, and it didn't quite work. I think it's going to be too late. He gave up too much time coming through the corners, and in fact looked to be starting to defend slightly. Somebody locked up there. I think it might have been Merckx, of all people, to lock up into the Les Combes sequence, so it's certainly not predictable who's going to make it through. And it looks like Frontline catching the group now. We've got a really, really tight battle for 4th onwards here at the International Racing League. We've certainly got 2 sets of 3 drivers, Merckx, Moist and Ole, then a 2-second gap to Leon, Milan and Waitsy, who's just getting gapped at the moment behind those, and I think maybe those soft tyres starting to wear off. I've had a weather forecast from our drivers, and that is for dry but overcast conditions for the duration of our Belgian Grand Prix here. Let's just run down into the second group then, as we've got Leon and Milan, who have now gapped Waitsy a little bit, and I fear is struggling on the soft tyres. He might be able to switch to hards and undercut the drivers coming up, and ARL has Speedy Spud right up behind him as the leaders are heading down into the bus stop to finish out lap 4. Relatively few laps here in our Grand Prix, but of course a Grand Prix distance nonetheless. 50% Grand Prix distance, I should say, as Moist with the DRS on that short little straight and gets really well tucked up into the apex, maybe too much apex through La Source, and certainly very different racing lines happening from the drivers on their way through that section, but through Eau Rouge it's fairly predictable. Sign of some regen going on for Moist as the rear rain light is flashing. Ole looking for the opportunity to come through. Will he manage to do it? I think the fact that the Aston had the DRS as well seemed to prevent that exchange from happening. Milan still in 4th position. Waitsy on his own. ARL ahead of a massive gaggle of cars here further back. We've got Speedy Spud leading PRS, Marco and Chuck Norris all together here. Chuck Norris, remember, on the soft tyres just like Waitsy. And a huge lock-up again there, that time from ARL as they go through the Rivage Bruxelles corner. As it was at the front, just 1/3 of a second separating 1st to 2nd, 2nd to 3rd, and 4th to 5th, but with a 3-second gap between the two of them. Here then comes Speedy Spud. Well, has he finally been able to get ahead of ARL? He goes for a sweeper around the outside into Le Fagna and completes the move. A very unusual place to do that move, but those medium tyres will be in tip-top condition after 4 laps. ARL's hards still will be giving up a little bit of grip to him, and here then riding on board with Ole, just 0.2 of a second behind the Aston Martin again as we head down into the bus stop, and there's no way through at the moment. It's not happening for Ole, but it doesn't necessarily need to happen as the big gap is definitely opening out. Milan will be a little bit frustrated that he's got Leon right with him still, despite the fact that there's a big difference in strategy between them. Speedy Spud has got the jump now on ARL into the bus stop. Will ARL be able to rebuild the lap through here or not, I wonder, as the leaders come back over Eau Rouge and Radion. It seems like Ollie has fantastic run here as they go 3 wide. Can we get a 3 wide run? Merckx is very, very cautious into the corner, understandably, and exit to the gravel goes Ole. I don't think there was any contact even from that particular run, and it's very unfortunate for Ole to be down in the order. He's down now dropping down to even 11th position for Ollie. So it's going to be a two-horse race at the front, certainly in this first sector as things stand here in the race. But if you saw some contact on screen and you're watching with me live, do let me know. I thought that it was just simply the three different lines going into the corner and they didn't work out. And Ollie just out of rhythms and out of grip on the corner slightly. But really hard to tell on a single watching. But Moist from Merckx. Now Leon in third position, but with a penalty. And Milan down to fourth place, but tucked up right behind him. And it does look like the group behind ARL are just spreading out ever so slightly as Moist and Merckx are back locking horns once again. Moist trying to duck in and get a second boost of slipstream plus DRS. Excuse me, not DRS, down into the bus stop. He was trying to get a little bit, but just couldn't quite get there. Now he'll have an opportunity with no worries from behind. Just needs to focus on his exit out of La Source here. Gradually applying the throttle and winding out the steering to have the smoothest run possible. Now it's all about just holding your breath. Over the top we go. Obviously it's unsighted through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, the exit, so you don't always know exactly where you're going to be. Some great overspeed here, and it looks like he's quite happy to follow. That looked definitely like a lift and coast situation for him. We've got Milan on the move, going through past Leon. Milan up into P3 once again, and then behind them a big gap of 4 seconds has opened out now. Will we see any moves here further back? Well, we're seeing Sticky and Frontline locking horns. We've got Waitsy into the pits and out again on new medium tyres. Is Waitsy going to try and do a pretty long stint there on the mediums, I wonder? ARL, remember, started on the hards. Will probably run hards to mediums or possibly hards to soft if he gets a favourable wind behind him today. But at the front, lap 7, Merckx versus Moist continues. Now, the longer Moist stays behind Merckx, the more Merckx will start to assume that it will stay that way, and the more fuel that Merckx will end up using, or at least ERS, to discourage a move from Moist. But Moist doesn't want to put all of his eggs in the final lap basket, or in the pit stop sequence basket potentially, as PRS drops behind Davy Norris now. Remember, soft tyres. It looks like Chuck Norris had some problems, and Davy Norris back down again. So the soft tyres certainly fading. 6 laps in now on the softs, surely headed to the pits. Well, Marco has pitted off the mediums before the Norrises have pitted on the soft tyres. Pretty unusual to see that. And here is Moist then. He's struggling to follow through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, but I wonder if that is just about being cautious through there. I think we may see more action into Lake Calm, or even before then, as Leon passes back into third place through the laps. I don't know how many more passes we're going to see down into Lake Calm on this lap. Certainly we've got another opportunity here for the Alpine of Davy Norris. He's got Chuck behind him. And Chuck is just ahead of Sticky and Frontline. Waitsy's down in 14th, having already made his stop. Whether that will be a 1-stop or a 2-stop remains to be seen, dependent on safety cars. But he's going to certainly hope to get those mediums home. And Marco has gone off the mediums and onto the hards. He's certainly experiencing some pretty heavy degradation here so far on this newly resurfaced. Remember, what of the home driver Milan tonight? Well, he's in 4th position. Fans right behind him, as Ollie now has a 3-second penalty to add insult to a very difficult injury he suffered into the gravel trap there. I don't think he damaged the car, but certainly pride and ego will have been damaged a little bit going through that sequence, as Moist then stays with the DRS zone of Merckx. There's a lot more action happening between Milan and Leon, though, because they have exchanged positions far more times, and I wonder if they are trying to bring themselves within range here of the lead pairing. Here they go through Eau Rouge and over Raidillon, and they are still line astern. Moist not really staying particularly with Merckx, but staying in the DRS, which is all important. Will Milan launch a move into Les Combes? Not quite, but certainly gained a decent amount of speed under the DRS there behind the Haas. Leon and Speedy Spud scoring well at the moment for the Haas team. And remember, ARL still on the hard tyres from the start, as is Sticky, but ARL in 6th place, and his gap away to the leader at the moment, 12.7 seconds for ARL. So definitely within the hunt here, but that's a large gap to close in with some soft tyres at the end of the race. If he can run long enough to make that happen. Well, certainly David Norris and Chuck Norris have got 8 laps out of these soft tyres at the moment, and they might even be trying for a 9th. Penalties on the cars at the moment, quite a large amount. So Leon with 6 seconds of penalties is on track in 3rd, but certainly going to be way down, possibly as low as 7th or 8th towards the end of the race if he can't stop the rot, as Milan comes on through. And back into 3rd place for Milan. We have 9 seconds on PRS, 3 each for the remaining drivers. Davey, Sticky, Marco and Ole down in 15th position. Ole just trying to come home and bring some points for the team. But from competing for the podium, that is certainly going to be a hard and bitter pill to swallow right now. Pit stops have occurred for quite a few of the drivers, but the lead group are still out on track. Here comes Moist back into the lead then. He gets his braking a little bit tidier this time and gets into the corner. It was Merck that was just showing a little bit of tyre smoke there. So we have a change for the lead. Once again, Moist back into the lead then for more than about 3 corners, which he managed earlier on. So our double world champion, the Maestro Moist, up against Merckx the Merciless so far this season, and Merckx getting very sideways into Pouan, certainly just getting a little bit airborne there, and you can see on the helmet of Moist just looking across in the mirrors, is Merckx about to pounce? I think Moist was a little slow into Pouan, or maybe Moist has got this car trimmed out and doesn't have the downforce in the middle sector that Merckx has got. It's going to be interesting to see. Will he pull away down this long flat out section? Well, Merckx isn't going to let him have that luxury, as getting tucked up and presumably using a little bit of ERS here. Doesn't want to enter the pits at someone else's speed, I suspect, and would rather lead into the pit lane, but that was very late on the brakes there that time from Merckx, and certainly Moist having a look then around and just managing to stay away from the fairly leery Merckx, who got a little bit excited into the bus stop that time out, and certainly these two drivers playing that one very smartly and avoiding contact. They know that contact was going to give them huge problems. Leon and Milan pit now. Chuck Norris still out. No, he's finally pitted. So Chuck Norris in. Waitsy, remember, the first driver to pit today, and he's going to move up the order, I think, anyway, as Merckx comes you with the DRS back level with Moist, who's going to take the longer run around Les Combes. Side by side they go, and Merckx and Moist just holding on. Really professional driving from the both of them. They know the race is only halfway through so far, and certainly flirting with disaster. Moist desperately needing the points. Merckx needing the championship consolidation here, especially while Ricky's away. Waitsy moving up to 7th thanks to the pit stops right now. But we still have yet to see pit stops from Merckx, Moist and Spud at the head of the field. ARL certainly gaining ground at the moment on the medium runners. It is the happy days for the hard tyre starters of ARL and Sticky. But the conventional strategy being operated here by Merckx and Moist, I wonder if these two will switch to hards now, or they will, in fact, wait a lap or two and go onto the soft tyres. It looks like Merckx has started to gap Moist here, is going to have to use a little bit of electrical deployment if he wants to hang on to the DRS, or just hope that Merckx makes another mistake into the bus stop And into the pits for the undercut comes Moist. Now, usually Moist will go conservative on strategy, so I would expect to see hard tyres, but there are only 10 laps remaining, and we know that some drivers managed to get more laps than that out of the soft tyre earlier on. So we will see what Moist decides to do as he drops down behind Speedy Spud and ARL coming out of the pit lane now, and it is hard tyres, he says with a big questioning voice. I think it's hard tyres. They don't look like red tyres. It is hard tyres for Moist, so he's going to be able to go aggressive now. Merckx, though, will be faster at this stage and potentially have the option of fitting soft tyres in a few moments' time. No pit stop yet for ARL, who is 2.5 seconds behind Moist, and I wonder, from Moist's vantage point, if we will actually see ARL, what am I talking about? ARL is 2.5 seconds further up the road than Moist, so we should see him in front. It is Sticky in 5th on the starting hard tyres as well, and in a good position. And then we've got, obviously, we've got Merckx, who's going to be presumably on an in-lap, defending from the undercut from Moist, and knowing now the strategic decision that Moist has made, it will depend how much tyre life Merckx still has left in the car as to whether he decides to keep going and risk losing position but having soft tyres, or does he pit off to head off the pit stop of Moist and just go on to the same tyres and play it safe. It's lap 12 of 22. It's decision time for Merckx as he comes down into the bus stop, and he's going round. He's going to go round and he's going to try and run this one, I think, to the soft tyre window. But that means that Moist will start to get an advantage in grip now, and should be pumping in some special lap times at this stage. Speedy Spud has split the difference, and he's come in. So ARL, from, I think, 7th on the grid, is now into 2nd position, but has yet to make his only pit stop. The important thing, though, is where is Merckx? He's already out of the pits, is Merckx. He's come out. He hasn't pitted yet. Come on, Webbo, get it together. It's Moist in 3rd position then, trying to bring the laps in now. Let's have a look at the lap data for him and check out to see how he is performing over the course of the lap. It is a 32.2 for Merckx. Will join Moist as he heads down the Kemmel Straight. Huge support here for all of our drivers in the grandstands. That's a 32.6 for Moist. So it's not working at the moment. His hard tyres are not in temperature. It's a long waiting game then for Moist. He's almost certain to come out after the pit stop sequences for Merckx to be in front and potentially even on soft tyres. But Moist will hope that right at the end of the race will be the time when he has tyre grip to spare, and he could really do with catching ARL and using ARL's DRS and slipstream to bring himself forward. Frontline, talk about coming forward. He is 12 laps deep into a medium run, and he is driving the wheels off this Mercedes. He was right at the back earlier on. He's now right in the midfield in the mix and fighting with drivers on much younger tyres. The only other driver on the grid to have yet pitted is Frontline, and as is Merckx, who's now pitted on lap 12. So Frontline will drop back after this, but he's only got a small amount of penalty, I believe. Leon has the most, if memory serves. So let's see, as Merckx into the pits and ready for some soft tyres. That means then that we've got Moist coming through. You can just see Merckx exiting his pit box, but he will be at pit lane speed limit. Into the pits comes Moist. There is Merckx coming out of the pits. He's going to have ARL right with him. ARL will have an opportunity here, perhaps some DRS to take the lead of this race, as Merckx is struggling to get tyre temperature. Merckx may not mind this too much, and a new leader of the race again is now ARL on lap 14, and Merckx will tuck right into the rear wing of ARL on the V-carb. ARL getting a little bit excited there in the lead of the race, as Merckx is going to try and go all the way round the long way. He's new sauce versus old hards, and that didn't last very long for ARL, did it? Unfortunately, but he'll be there one day. I'm sure he'll be on the winner's step, but right now he's in the podium positions on track, but he's still got a pit stop to make, and will be able, I think, to fit soft tyres. And if Merckx fitted soft tyres on that previous lap, then surely ARL had that option. It's 3-second time penalty going by way of Chuck Norris. Now, Merckx on those new soft tyres. Will Merckx now disappear? He's got to do his work now. He's got to move as much as possible here and build the gap, because later in the stint, this is going to come to Moist. So he has to try and build that gap as much as he possibly can. Penalty-wise, 6 seconds for Leon, 12 for PRS. No stranger to the steward's room is PRS, certainly in-game, and the in-game time penalties. Certainly not the first time I've called penalties for PRS. And ARL into the pits now. That puts our order back as it was. Merckx to Moist, but with a gap of some 2.5 seconds greater than it was in the first few laps prior to the safety car. So Merckx has an opportunity now to continue to gap Moist for a couple of laps. ARL dropping down. Where will he come out? Will it be the two old friends of Waitsy and ARL? No, because Waitsy has gone into the pits for the second time and for a fresh set of medium tyres. So ARL and Waitsy will not contest the racetrack together. Floyd Pink is in 7th position, showing well for Red Bull here tonight. Leon, though, 3rd place. Milan, within the penalty count of Leon, but just been passed by Spud. So Spud goes through into Les Combes, gets the second part of Les Combes a little bit wrong, and Milan straight back onto the back of him. And it's lap 15 of 22. We have Speedy Spud in 4th place. Leon up the road, but wearing 6 seconds of penalties. These two drivers could do with working together, whereas Speedy Spud could probably do with backing Milan up and away from the penalties of Leon. Needs to hover around 5.5 seconds gap to Leon and try and manage that if he can towards the end of the race. But easily said, very difficult to achieve. Further down the order then, we've got Milan in 5th, we've got ARL in 6th place on new soft tyres, with a 4.8 second gap to catch the hard tyres shod Milan. We've got Floyd Pink just behind him, within sight here in the Red Bull, and behind him Marco, who qualified in 4th, is running 8th in the Aston Martin. With PRS in 9th, Chuck Norris in 10th place for Red Bull, as Merckx sets the new fastest lap of the race of 43.745. We have Davey Norris in 11th, Sticky in 12th, Waitsy down in 13th, making 2 pit stops tonight. And then Director Ollie in 14th place, Frontline down in 15th on new soft tyres, and right behind Director Ollie. Let's stay with these two. The gap between Merckx and Moist opening to 5.3 seconds. Now that Moist can't hang on with the DRS, it does appear as if Merckx has a small pace advantage, at least for a while, at least while the soft tyres are fresh. Here is then the battle for 14th position, and Ollie and defending from Frontline. Let's see, that's right on board with Frontline then. You don't want to get too close on the way into Eau Rouge, because you can actually end up running into a driver as you get unloaded over the top. This looks about okay. And choosing to go left, getting a small block, and now there's a little bit of squabbling going on between the two drivers there. I think that was a little bit of treatment from Frontline, because he felt Ollie perhaps blocked the road unnecessarily coming out of Eau Rouge and Radion, but I'm not sure we approve of that. And if Ollie feels particularly aggrieved, he might decide to report that incident to the stewards, and we'll have a post-race investigation. Marco's pretty close to Floyd Pink, about half a second between the two of them here for the battle for 7th position, and looking good. Lots of different tyre strategies at play today, as you all know. So it's lap 17 of 22. Merckx leads Moist by 6.4 seconds. It's looking like a bit of a mountain for the Maestro to climb and catch up to Merckx the Merciless. Running down through Blanchimont and towards the bus stop then, on board with Marco. Little puff of smoke coming out of the tyres. Crying foul from Floyd Pink. And here then is Marco with the DRS. Should be an easy enough pass, and it is, going through La Source, but running wide and out onto the gravel. And again, getting a little bit excited perhaps, and just overdoing the braking zone into La Source, using the DRS just that metre or two too late. And unfortunately, being dispatched back down again into 8th position. Here, though, a good battle between Davy Norris in the Alpine, Sticky in the McLaren, who gets on through, and Davy trying to tuck back in, but unable to make the difference. Sticky is in between the two Norrises. No Lando on track, but it's Chuck and Davy we have in 10th and 12th for different teams. We also have other family members, Atsu and Ricky Maru, who don't race as teammates, and it's probably for the best. Waitsy is in 13th and trying to make a move here on Davy Norris, and Waitsy's on new medium tyres, so we'll hope to try and get points here on his debut, but needs to climb 3 positions to do that in the remaining 5 laps of this Belgian Grand Prix. Milan is in 5th place and not too far away from Speedy Spud's 4th, with penalties on all the cars in front, and this another rarity, that is Moist wearing a 3-second penalty on the car as well. So we have got some difficult penalties to calculate later on. Leon is out of range of Moist's penalty thanks to having more and a 9-second gap. However, Speedy Spud is hovering around Leon's range. Nice move from Waitsy up into 12th place then, and 2 to go to get the first of the paying points and be eligible, of course, for the fastest lap of the race, which currently sits with Merck to 43.7, but Waitsy in a good position here on the newest tyres on the grid to potentially, and getting DRS, which Merck does not have that opportunity. The window is open, at least you would have to say. ARL's gap to the leader is 25 seconds after being in the mix there earlier on. I think the penalties are perhaps more important than the tyres in the fading portion of our race, the home stretch, as it were, of our race, as the gap to Merckx to Moist is 7.5 plus 3 seconds, and Merckx is completely out of reach now, with just under 5 to go. Waitsy doing his best here to catch Sticky, and has managed to do so. I think these drivers will be definitely within striking distance. Look at the penalty on PRS. He's got a 12-second penalty. Everybody else racing with penalties except Waitsy in this group from 8th downwards. So he could end up putting in a great move here, as Milan has just passed Speedy Spud into the bus stop. Not always the best place to make a move, but he's gone through. So Milan up, Speedy Spud down, and Milan already having a penalty advantage, a lack of penalty advantage over Speedy Spud will definitely help him here. And ARL closing now to close to the penalty of 3 seconds of Speedy Spud that he needs to try and overcome him and get a little bit of revenge for Silverstone. Speedy Spud overtaking ARL on the last lap of the race, but this DRS opportunity here for Speedy Spud is not going to help ARL's pursuit of him and of Milan as well. Spud back into 4th. These two have been doing battle for some time. Likewise, Marco and Floyd Pink. Marco back into 7th now, but with a 3-second penalty where Floyd Pink has 0. The Norrises were just exchanging positions. Chuck passing Davy. Waitsy into 10th now on merit, with 12 seconds on PRS's car. So that will be 9th place for Waitsy. And if he can continue this ascendancy, he might be within range of Marco's penalty here. Might be a little bit of a stretch there. But PRS now has 15 seconds of penalties and is trying to find shortcuts around the Belgian Grand Prix layout, but he's not finding them, and they're not doing him any favours either. Lap 20 of 22. Merck leads by 8.2 seconds plus 3, and that was a braking marker board going, begging there from Speedy Spud, I think, who's stretching the limits of the racetrack through Blanchimont, as Milan presses to overtake again on the road and just gets a little bit of DRS down into La Source. Right on board with the Williams that Milan is racing on his home track here. Remember, they need to stay within 6 seconds of Leon to get a podium, these two. The DRS is open earlier than the track race this weekend was. But the DRS not seeming to do a lot there for Milan on the way in, but he just needs to make sure his gap to Leon is smaller than 6 seconds, and he could end up here with a podium. ARL is in 6th position. That is a huge lock-up and slide from Speedy Spud, but he held it. He held it very well indeed. ARL is in 6th place and trying to close in then, and himself close in on Leon's penalty and on Speedy Spud's. So ARL could gain positions over both Haas drivers before the end of the race. It looks like Moist is very much on his own. 8 seconds plus 3 behind Merckx. 10 seconds plus 6 ahead of Leon. So lap 20. And Milan continues to pursue the point here. And we have Davy Norris within DRS range of Chuck Norris, but he also has Frontline behind him. Frontline on newer soft tyres as well. And it's just about how few penalty points you can rack up, how few penalty seconds can you rack up in this race, because it's a little bit like a round of golf. It's not how many good laps you have, it's how few poor laps you have today, it seems. And I know you don't do laps in golf, but you get my point. You know what I'm saying. Shots versus laps. As Frontline's in 14th position and heading down to try and make an overtake in a moment here. And let's go back and see Milan and Spud. And a much better run here for Milan this time out of Eau Rouge and Rallion. But the top speed of Speedy Spud is pretty incredible. You've got to say, must be trimmed out here, because it doesn't look like Milan can feature. Looks like ARL is just dancing around the possibility of overcoming both Leon and Speedy Spud. Now Leon has got a 9-second penalty, as Floyd Pink, I think, has been off the circuit slightly and drops down behind Marco. Waitsy looking to pounce as well. That escalated quickly between these guys. Waitsy looking for the wider entry, smoother exit through Rivage, Bruxelles corner, and through Jackie X. And looking for an opportunity into Pouhon, but there's really only one-way traffic through Pouhon. It's soft tyres versus hard tyres here on the Ferrari versus Red Bull, respectively. Going around the outside, another penalty for Moist. I don't think I've ever seen 2 track penalties for Moist, but in short order, it's going to be Merckx coming to start his final lap of the race. Let's go back then to Waitsy and Floyd Pink, as we've got Marco in 7th place, down in with the 3-second penalty. But Waitsy looking to overcome Marco here in the dying embers of our race. We are on the final lap with the leader and with 2nd place, and now with 3rd and 4th. But Waitsy then might have the best opportunity among the group. Milan has so far shown he doesn't have the top speed down the Kemmel Straight, but he still is on for a good podium position here. I think ARL might not quite make it to the penalty of Speedy Spud, so it might only be Leon he manages to overcome, as we have Merckx leading this race. Milan is going to try it. He's used some ERS at the end. He surprised me with some electrical deployment, and he's got through and past, and that was fantastic. And Waitsy goes on through and into 7th place on merit, as well as dropping down goes Sticky versus Chuck Norris. But Merckx is just heading through the 2nd sector of the race. We've got Moist in 2nd. We've got Leon in 3rd plus 9 seconds, though. Milan now in the lead when it mattered most. He's managed to use the electrical deployment and get those extra few kilometers an hour to try and get himself up onto the podium of his home race. Here comes Merckx, though, to make it 4 Grand Prix from 5, and he's only contested 4 of them. The Belgian Grand Prix goes to Merckx, and round 5 of the championship. Moist, though, will be scoring heavily against the missing Ricky Maru. So Moist into 2nd place and scoring good points for his championship hunt here, at least to try and climb up from the mired of the midfield for the double world champion. Then comes Leon to cross the line, but I think it's going to be Milan, and it could even be ARL. Here we go then to cross the line. Milan up and crosses the line into the podium positions. Leon goes down to 4th, and ARL just misses out by 75 thousandths of a second. Speedy Spud in 6th. Waitsy debuts with us with a 7th position despite very low expectations. It's Floyd Pink in 8th, Marco in 9th, Chuck Norris just getting past, and PRS, who's collected a great deal of penalties. We have Frontline debuting as well and getting 11 points, debuting for the season, I should say. David Norris in 12th, Sticky in 13th, PRS down to 14th, and Ole, well, that is definitely one to forget for Ole, unfortunately, after the incident when they went 3 wide into Lacombe. But Mercked once again, it's Mercked, the merciless. 4 wins from the first 5 races. 5 races if you count the sprint. And there he is, having won every race he has contested with us here for Kick Sauber for the United Kingdom, and on the top step and hearing God Save the King. It's time for the podium ceremonies, and it's time to celebrate for Mercked. For all of our podium, I think we'll be very pleased that they survived. I'm pleased as well. I can mark myself safe from Bernd Mailander today as here at the Belgian Grand Prix, and from early stoppages and nonsense Grand Prix, and also from rain as well. Very straightforward, uncharacteristically straightforward race there from from Spa. Mercked taking home everything. Pole, Grand Prix win, fastest lap, a Grand Slam from Mercked, and a maximum 26 points. Moist gets second, though. He'll be fairly pleased with that, but not, I suspect, with the 6 seconds of penalties. Milan into 3rd place. The home racer on the podium will make the crowd and himself very happy indeed. Leon in 4th. ARL, a hard-fighting and well-won and well-deserved 5th place. Speedy Spud in 6th. Waitsy, a tremendous debut in 7th. Floyd Pink in 8th, Marco in 9th, and Chuck Norris taking home the final point. We have Frontline just outside of the points paying positions. David Norris, Sticky, PRS with a record, I think, 18 seconds on the car, and Ole, unfortunately, who did vie for the podium, but down in the final position of our race. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that, folks. I certainly have had a fantastic race. Mercked is looking incredible for this championship. What can possibly stop him? Tune in next week to find out. This is Webbo. This is the International Racing League. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. And we will catch you on the next race day.